I never expected my life to turn into a joke. For years, I had built a life that was supposed to be unbreakable. A stable marriage, a successful business, and a reputation as a man of honor. I thought loyalty meant something. I thought love was unshakable. I was wrong. My name is Eric Carter, and I came from a small town where people still believed in old school values: hard work, respect, and family. My father was a mechanic, and my mother a schoolteacher. From them, I learned that when you commit to something, you give it your all. That's why, when I met Lauren, I thought I had found the woman I would spend my life with. She was radiant, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their heads. I fell hard, and when we got married, I was convinced that I had won life's ultimate prize. But life has a way of testing even the strongest of men. Over time, cracks started forming in our marriage. At first, they were small. Lauren seemed restless, always looking for something more. I convinced myself it was nothing, just the natural evolution of a relationship. But then, I met Kyle. Kyle was charming in a slimy, overconfident way. The type of guy who thought he was better than everyone around him. He walked into our lives like a shadow, slowly creeping into spaces he didn't belong. Lauren's laughter became a little louder when he was around. Her eyes held a flicker of excitement I hadn't seen in years. I ignored it. I wanted to believe it was innocent. But my gut told me otherwise. It wasn't until Olivia, Lauren's younger sister, spoke up that I was forced to confront the truth. Olivia had always been practical, grounded, and brutally honest. One night, she pulled me aside, her face tight with anger. "Eric, I know you don't want to hear this," she said, her voice trembling, "but you need to open your eyes. Lauren and Kyle are not just friends." I wanted to argue, to call her wrong, but deep inside, I already knew. Still, I brushed it off. I wasn't ready to admit my wife, the woman I had sacrificed everything for, was betraying me. Until the night, everything collapsed. I remember sitting in my garage, staring at the disassembled parts of my old Mustang, the car I had been restoring for years. That car symbolized dreams. Dreams of a life filled with love, adventure, and stability. But dreams don't mean a thing when reality comes crashing down, and reality hit me harder than I ever imagined. I should have left it alone. I should have just walked away. But I couldn't. Something inside me refused to let it go, refused to be the fool in my own story. So, that night, sitting in my garage with my hands covered in grease, I made a decision. I needed the truth, no matter how much it hurt. Lauren had been acting different for weeks, and now that Olivia had planted the seed of doubt in my mind, I couldn't ignore it. I started noticing things. Her phone was always face down. She'd smile at texts but never share what they were about. She dressed up more often, but never told me where she was going. Still, I told myself it was nothing, until I found the receipt. It was in the pocket of her jacket, a crumpled slip from the Pinecrest Inn, a fancy hotel outside town, a hotel we had never been to together. The date on the receipt was from 3 nights ago, the same night she told me she was out with friends. I felt my stomach twist. This was it. This was the proof I had been too scared to find. I took a deep breath, staring at the piece of paper in my hands. My heart was racing, my fingers tightening around the edge of the receipt. I could confront her now, but no, that would be too easy, too predictable. I needed to catch her in the act. I grabbed my keys, walked outside, and sat in my car, my mind racing. There was only one place to go: the hotel. I needed answers, and I was going to get them tonight. The drive to the Pinecrest Inn felt like the longest of my life. My hands clenched the steering wheel, my jaw tight as I replayed every conversation I'd had with Lauren in the past few months. Every excuse, every lie, every moment I ignored because I wanted to believe she was still the woman I married. The neon glow of the hotel's sign came into view, its bright letters slicing through the dark night. I pulled into the parking lot, turning off the engine. My heart was pounding. There was a part of me that still hoped I was wrong, hoped this was just some misunderstanding. I sat there for a moment, gripping the receipt in my hand. I had two choices. Walk away. Pretend I never saw this. Keep my life intact. Walk inside. Face the truth. Let my world burn. I exhaled sharply. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I stepped out of my truck and walked toward the entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, and I was greeted by the scent of polished wood and expensive cologne. The receptionist barely glanced up as I made my way through the lobby. Then I spotted him. Kyle, standing at the bar, laughing, completely at ease. He didn't look like a man hiding a secret. He looked like a man who had already won. Rage bubbled in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. Not yet. I turned my attention to the elevators. 4th floor. That's what the receipt said. Room 417. Each step I took felt heavier, my breath tightening. I wasn't ready, but I had to be. I reached the 4th floor, the carpet muffling my footsteps as I approached room 417. The door was slightly ajar. My pulse pounded in my ears as I pushed it open just an inch more. And then I saw them. Lauren, Kyle, together. Her arms wrapped around him, his hands on her. And the worst part? She was laughing. That same laugh she used to have with me, the one that made me fall in love with her. Everything inside me shattered. I must have made a sound, because suddenly, Lauren turned her head. Her smile dropped. Her body stiffened. Our eyes met. She gasped, "Eric," but I didn't wait to hear the rest. I turned and walked away, because now, it wasn't about confronting her. It was about revenge. I don't remember driving home. My hands were still shaking when I pulled into the driveway, my knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel. My mind was racing, but one thing was clear. I wasn't going to let this slide. Lauren didn't just cheat. She mocked me. She laughed with him. And Kyle? He walked around like he owned my life. They thought I was weak. They thought I wouldn't do anything. They were wrong. I sat in my garage, staring at my old Mustang, the same car I had been restoring for years, a symbol of my hard work, my patience, my loyalty. And now, all I could think about was how much of my life I had wasted on someone who never deserved it. I needed a plan, one that wouldn't just hurt Lauren and Kyle, but humiliate them the way they humiliated me. Then, a voice pulled me from my thoughts. Olivia. Lauren's younger sister stood in the garage doorway, arms crossed. She looked pissed. "You saw it, didn't you?" she asked. I didn't answer. She stepped forward, lowering her voice. "I warned you, Eric, but you didn't want to believe me." I exhaled sharply. "What do you want me to say, Olivia? That you were right?" She studied me for a moment, then leaned against the workbench. "You know what I think? I think you're about to do something stupid." I smirked bitterly. "Damn right I am." She raised an eyebrow. "Good. Need help?" I frowned. Why would you want to help me? She laughed, shaking her head. You think I like my sister? She's been treating people like trash for years. She deserves what's coming. I thought about it for a moment. Olivia was smart, cunning, and if anyone knew how to destroy Lauren, it was her. So I told her my plan. By the time I was done, Olivia was grinning. Oh, this is going to be fun, she said. And just like that, the game had begun. Revenge wasn't just about getting even. It was about taking everything they thought they had and turning it against them. Lauren and Kyle thought they had won. They thought I'd disappear, lick my wounds, and stay the fool they made me out to be. They had no idea what was coming. I didn't confront Lauren that night. I didn't call. I didn't rage. Instead, I went about my life like nothing had happened. I smiled at her the next morning, kissed her on the cheek when I left for work. She hesitated, probably expecting a fight, but when I acted normal, she relaxed. Good. Let her feel safe. That night, I even took her to dinner. I let her sit there, sipping wine, probably thinking, he has no clue. I've gotten away with it. She was wrong. The next part of the plan required Olivia's help. Kyle wasn't just a homewrecker. He was a fraud. A man who pretended to be wealthy, powerful, and well-connected. But Olivia had been digging into him for months and knew the truth. Kyle was up to his neck in debt. He was a liar, a manipulator, and worst of all, he was desperate. And desperate men, they make mistakes. So, I planted the bait. I spread a rumor, one that Kyle wouldn't be able to resist. I made sure it got back to him that I was considering selling my business. That the town's most trusted mechanic, the man people relied on for everything from farm equipment to electronics, was looking for a buyer. And the price? A six-figure deal. Kyle had always been jealous of my success, but now he saw an opportunity. And like the idiot he was, he took it. Kyle thought he was winning. He had stolen my wife. Now he was about to steal my business too. At least that's what he thought. But he didn't know the whole story. The moment word got out that I was considering selling my business, Kyle started sniffing around. He wasn't subtle about it. One evening, while Lauren was out with friends, which I knew was code for Kyle, he called me. Eric, man, he started, faking that smooth, confident tone. I heard you might be looking to sell the shop. I pretended to hesitate. Who told you that? Doesn't matter, Kyle said quickly. Look, I'm just saying if you're looking for a buyer, I know people. I can make you a great deal. A great deal? I had to hold back a laugh. Kyle didn't have money. He was a parasite, leeching off others. And now that I was playing dumb, he thought he had me wrapped around his finger. Come by tomorrow, I said casually. We'll talk. The next afternoon, Kyle strutted into my shop like he already owned the place. His grin was wide, cocky. He thought he had already won. Hell of a place, Eric, he said, running a hand along one of the workbenches. A guy like me could take this to the next level. I played along. I just need someone who can handle the responsibility. Kyle smirked. Oh, I can handle it. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I saw Lauren walking in. Perfect. She stopped when she saw me and Kyle standing together. For a moment, her face went pale. She wasn't expecting this. But I stayed calm. Hey, babe, I said smoothly. Kyle's thinking about buying the shop. Lauren blinked, confused. He is? Kyle nodded, trying to look serious. We're discussing numbers. She hesitated, but then it clicked. I wasn't mad. I wasn't acting like a jealous, heartbroken husband. That's when she smiled. Because in her mind, if Kyle got my business, that meant I would be out of their lives forever. And that's exactly what I wanted her to think. Congrats, Kyle, Lauren said sweetly, placing a hand on his arm. Looks like things are working out for you. Kyle grinned. Yeah, looks like it. Idiots. They had no idea that I was about to burn their entire world to the ground. The deal was set. Kyle thought he was about to take everything from me. But in reality, I was about to take everything from him. That evening, I made sure the entire town knew Kyle Roswell was the new owner of my shop. Word spread fast. Farmers, local businesses, and old friends all started talking about it. Kyle had no idea what was coming. The next morning, Kyle showed up at the shop, acting like a king. He leaned against the counter, smirking as I handed over ownership papers. Fake ones, of course. This must be tough for you, man, he said, shaking his head. Losing your business, your wife. But hey, life moves on. I smiled. Yeah, it does. Then the customers started arriving. One by one, they came in, but not to congratulate him. The first to step forward was Mr. Turner, a farmer who had been a loyal customer for years. He eyed Kyle with pure disgust. I heard you're running things now, he said flatly. Kyle grinned. That's right. Mr. Turner nodded once, then turned to me. Then I guess I won't be doing business here anymore. Kyle's grin faded. Wait, what? Another man, James, who owned the biggest transport company in town, stepped forward. Yeah. If Eric ain't running this place, I don't trust it. Same here, someone else added. Within minutes, the entire room was buzzing. One by one, they all declared they were pulling their business out. Kyle paled. Wait a minute. Let's talk about this. But they weren't listening. I had spent years earning these people's trust. Kyle, he had earned nothing. And just like that, his business started crumbling before it even began. Just as Kyle was processing the disaster, Olivia walked in. She held up a folder, waving it in the air. Kyle, you forgot to mention something. He turned, looking confused. What? She smirked. You're broke. Silence. Lauren's face twisted in confusion. What is she talking about? Olivia stepped forward, dropping the folder on the counter. Kyle has over $80,000 in debt. And guess what? He used your name, Lauren. Lauren's jaw dropped. You did what? Kyle looked like a deer in headlights. That's not true. Oh, it's true. Olivia pulled out the papers and started reading. Overdrawn accounts, unpaid loans, credit card fraud. She smirked. Did you really think we wouldn't check? Lauren's face turned red with rage. Are you kidding me? You used my name for this? Kyle swallowed hard. Babe, I was gonna fix it. Slap. Lauren's hand cracked across his face. You idiot! Do you know what this means? She screamed. That debt is mine. The bank is gonna come after me. I leaned forward, smiling. That's rough, huh? Kyle turned to me, his face full of panic. Eric, man, come on. You can't let this happen. I chuckled. Oh, I can. And I did. Kyle stumbled back. The shop was dead silent. Lauren looked like she was going to explode. She had betrayed me for this fool. And now, she was stuck with his debt, his failures, and his mess. I stepped toward them, lowering my voice just enough for everyone to hear. You both thought you played me, I said. But the truth is, I played you. Lauren shook her head, tears in her eyes. Eric, please. But I was already walking away. I had one last thing to do. I pulled my truck keys from my pocket and tossed them to Olivia. "Lock up when you're done," I said. Then, without looking back, I walked out. Because I had one final move left to make. I walked out of that shop a free man. For the first time in months, hell, maybe years, I felt like I could breathe. Lauren and Kyle had been left to face the consequences of their own actions. Lauren had lost everything: her marriage, her reputation, and now, thanks to Kyle's fraud, she was drowning in debt. And Kyle? He had no job, no money, and no respect left in this town. Poetic justice. But my story wasn't over yet. There was one last thing I had to do. As I got into my truck, Olivia slid into the passenger seat. She didn't say anything for a while, just stared ahead as we drove out of town. The evening sky was burning orange, the horizon stretching endlessly before us. Finally, she broke the silence. "So, what now?" she asked. I gripped the steering wheel, thinking. For years, my life had revolved around Lauren. I had built a business, a home, a future, all for her. And look where that got me. I exhaled, shaking my head. "I don't know," Olivia smirked. "That's a first." I chuckled. "Guess I gotta figure out what I want." She tilted her head, studying me. "And what if what you want is right in front of you?" I turned, meeting her gaze. There was something different about Olivia, something I hadn't noticed before. Or maybe I had been too blind to see it. She shrugged. "You don't have to decide anything right now," she said. "But just so you know, you don't have to figure this out alone." I didn't answer right away. But as the town disappeared in my rearview mirror, I realized something. Lauren had been my past. But my future? That was mine to rebuild. And maybe, just maybe, Olivia would be part of it.